Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So currently, Social Security benefits are scheduled to be reduced by 24% within the next 10 years if Congress does not act. However, a new plan in Washington that just so happens to be bipartisan, meaning that both Republicans and Democrats are on board with this idea, would prevent from that 20 to 26% cut from taking place, and even possibly increase benefits for some Social Security beneficiaries. So in today's video, we are going to be breaking down everything that you need to know. But before we go ahead and dive into it for today, if you would like to explore potential huge savings on your Medicare plan, then you might want to consider giving Chapter a call today with that number up there on the screen. You say, historically speaking, people who have worked with Chapter have stated right around $1,100 on their Medicare plan. So what do you have to lose? The call is completely free with that number up there on the screen. That number is 612-895-2101. That once again is 612-895-2101. And again, on average, people who have worked with Chapter have saved right around $1,100 on their Medicare plan. So give Chapter a call today, and thank you to Chapter for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so diving right into for today. So once again, according to the most recent trustees report, if Congress does not act within the next 10 years, there is going to be automatic benefit cuts for everyone across the board, whether you receive retirement benefits, whether you receive SSI benefits, or whether you receive disability benefits of anywhere between 20 to 26%. That would be very devastating, considering that so many people are reliant on Social Security and they live paycheck to paycheck on Social Security benefits. So to have that cut even more than what they're currently at is going to put people in very, very difficult situation. But thankfully, we actually have a new bipartisan plan in Congress headed by Bill Cassidy, a Republican, and a Democrat in Tim Kaine. They're trying to push this plan in Congress and get a vote on this bill, hopefully by the end of this year, or worst case scenario by the end of next year. The clock is ticking. This would make it so they would no longer have this shortfall. They would no longer have this big cut in benefits. And not only that, but for some folks, there might actually be an increase in benefits on top of that as well. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it for today. Once again, this article from Fox News, they say that Social Security benefits face 24% cut in less than a decade as trust fund dries up, new analysis reveals. So Social Security's retirement trust fund is on a path to insolvency in less than a decade, which would leave retirees facing an automatic 24% cut to their benefits if the trust fund is depleted. According to a new analysis, Social Security is funded by a combination of payroll taxes and disbursements from the trust fund, and if the trust fund is depleted, federal law requires that benefits be cut to match incoming revenue. So basically, the main problem with that is that before we had more workers paying taxes into the system and fewer people actually receiving benefits. But over the years, people started having fewer and fewer kids, which means that we have fewer and fewer young people working, paying taxes in the system, while at the same time we have more people than ever now retiring and collecting benefits from the system. So we don't have enough money coming into the trust fund to be able to pay out everyone 100% of their scheduled benefits, and that's why there's going to be a cut across the board of anywhere between 19 to 26% come 2032 through 2034. Now, the article here goes on to say that the nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget on Thursday released its latest analysis of Social Security's trust fund based on the recent trustees report, along with updated fiscal projections following the enactment of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. CRFB estimated that the law's enactment moved up the insolvency timeline for Social Security's trust fund to late 2032, which would leave beneficiaries facing a 24% benefit cut after the trust fund is tapped out. Now, the new law is temporary. Enhanced deduction for seniors increased the size of the benefit cut by about a percentage point, though it would be larger if the deduction and other temporary policies were made permanent, and the size of the Social Security benefit cut would vary based on a couple's age, marital status, and work history. And for a dual dual income couple with a median income who retires at the start of 2033, that would amount to an $18,100 annual benefit cut, or a monthly reduction of about $1,508. By contrast, a single income couple at that income tier would see a $13,600 annual benefit cut. So that is a lot of benefits to be cut. They're having numbers anywhere between $13,600 on an annual basis all the way up to $18,100 on an annual basis being cut out. That is a lot of money to be lost, and there is a lot at stake here for lawmakers in Washington to pass a bill to ensure that this big cut does not take place. Now they go on here to say that a dual and low income couple would see an $11,000 annual benefit cut, while a single income couple in the low income category would see benefits decline by $8,200 over the year. For high income households, a dual income couple would see benefits cut by $24,000 a year, while a single income couple would have benefits fall by $18,000 for the year. And of course, over time, benefit cuts would deepen as the growth in Social Security's expenses continue to outpace incoming revenues. As CRFB projected, the benefit cut would rise to well over 30% by 2099. So things aren't looking good for the future of Social Security. However, there can definitely be something done about this, as right now, once again, we have a new bipartisan plan in DC by Republicans and Democrats. They're trying to fix the future of Social Security. Here is Bill Cassidy covering his plan. Let's go ahead and watch.
Well, Senator, our viewers and listeners should know, if they don't already, that you're not only a practicing physician, you're chairman of the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. And you've got an important project underway that we've actually talked about before that is advancing to the next stage here, because you've got a Democrat on board, Senator Tim Kaine, helping to propose a rescue plan for Social Security. It would essentially create a second Social Security fund that would invest in more appreciable assets like treasuries. Senator, tell our audience how it would work.
Context: the Social Security Trust Fund is going insolvent in about 8 years. By law, the amount of money coming in has to match the amount of going out. When that trust fund goes insolvent, in order to match those two, outgo will cut by 21 to 25%. If you're getting social, or if you're going to, your benefit will cut by 21 to 25%. And nobody has a plan to address that. So our plan: create an investment fund separate from Social Security, put $1.5 trillion in it over 5 years, invest it like you would a 401k in the power of the U.S. economy, and over 75 years, but the rule of 72, which your listeners know about, the rule of 72, it just blossoms out. We use that money to offset any borrowing required to pay scheduled promised benefits. By the way, importantly, if the market goes up or down, doesn't affect the beneficiary. All risk is borne by the investment fund. And by that, we can bail out Social Security and also perhaps decrease our nation's indebtedness by 20%.
Never thought I'd be talking about the rule of 72 with Senator Cassidy. Where does the initial $1.5 trillion come from?
Yeah, so in our plan, we would borrow $300 billion a year for 5 years, but the way the federal government does its budget, we have a unified budget. So if you borrow money and put it in escrow, it does not contribute to your nation's indebtedness, because you could just dissolve the escrow and pay off the bonds. And so we don't add to the debt as we borrow that money.
And now these are treasuries that we're talking about purely. Would you invest in crypto or any other securities?
Right now, the Social Security Trust Fund puts all of its money in treasuries. Some of those from like a few years ago are bearing 2%, less than the rate of inflation. No, we would do like your 401k. First, there'd be a board of trustees or investors, an arm's length away from Congress and the executive. They would bid out to someone to manage the money, as the federal government currently does with the savings plan for federal employees, the retirement system. They would make the decisions on a fiduciary basis. They would make the decisions, again, arm's length separated, but they could put it in equities of any sort, in assets of any sort. They could put it in treasuries. Those are pretty low yielding. Probably put it in something different.
If we're following rule of 72 here, and you're talking about decades not years, Senator. In our remaining moment, you point out, you just said it, as well in your op-ed in the Washington Post, the Social Security Trust Fund will be insolvent as soon as 2033. Would this separate account have enough money to make up the difference by then?
So not by 2033, so it only partially offset the borrowing required to pay scheduled benefits. By the way, everybody knows we're going to borrow that money. No one has a plan how to offset it. But in our plan, as it goes up, it at first would partially offset, and at the end, it could potentially fully offset and even evergreen the Social Security Trust Fund, so we never have to worry about this again.
So with that said, leave your thoughts and comments below. What do you think about Cassidy's plan? Do you have any confusion behind it? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Leave your thoughts and comments below. But that's all we have for today's video, and I will see you in the next one.